Do you like fish sticks? It's an innocuous enough question. Maybe something you ask in small talk to avoid that dreaded awkward silence. Maybe something you offer to a friend as a snack. But what if I told you that this very question, 4 simple words, caused the downfall of one of the greatest artists of all time? Our story starts nearly 30 years ago, 1996, and about 1,000 miles away from each other. Here in Chicago's South Side, a young producer starts from humble beginnings, producing for an album conveniently titled Down to Earth. He'd drop out of college and continue to work on his craft and grind to make a name for himself, producing for Foxy Brown's second album, China Doll, which hit number 1 on the Billboard 200 in 1999. This put a then 21-year-old Kanye West on the radar of many labels. But the breakthrough to the mainstream wouldn't be as easy as he hoped. Over in Colorado, 2 men who met at the University of Colorado a few years back have produced one of the internet's first true viral videos. What was originally a video holiday card for Fox executive Brian Graydon, who showed it to his friends, who in turn copied it from VHS to VHS. This ended up being one of the most pirated pieces of media in the early internet days. So, Trey Parker and Matt Stone began pitching a new sitcom around Hollywood, specifically with MTV and Fox Studios. But issues would soon arise over their show, with crude humor, the slights on pop culture icons and their depictions, and these 8-year-old kids saying everything under the sun, and apparently a piece of talking poo. That was the deal breaker between South Park and Fox. I'm not kidding. With how strict TV censorship was at the time, there's no way the same jokes would fly. Thus, the suits didn't think it could be funny. The issue was clear. South Park wasn't marketable. It was clear Kanye West was a gifted producer, working with huge names in the industry, with his best work coming on Jay-Z's 2001 album, The Blueprint, which breathed some new life into a stagnating career post-turn of the millennium. But the blueprint that he didn't fit was that of rappers of the late 90s and early 2000s. This was the era of the gangstas. Jay-Z, Beanie Sigel, Cameron, 50 Cent, Nas, Mobb Deep, and personal favorite Gang Starr. There was an identity to these guys. Baggy jeans, jerseys, chains, it was flashy and in your face. Kanye wore a pink shirt with the collar sticking up and Gucci loafers, said Damon Dash, CEO of Jay-Z's Rockefeller Records. Even Jay-Z himself recognized that Kanye and he were not from the same place or cut from the same cloth. And this tore Kanye up. It was a strike against me that I didn't wear baggy jeans or jerseys, and that I never hustled, never sold drugs. But for me to have the opportunity to stand in front of a bunch of executives and present myself, I had to hustle in my own way. I can't tell you how frustrating it was that they didn't get that. No joke, I'd leave meetings crying all the time. The issue was clear. Kanye West wasn't marketable. There was one studio that was willing to risk airing South Park on their channel. Comedy Central, a sister company of MTV's. Doug Herzog, CEO of Comedy Central at the time, thought their short was one of the funniest things he'd ever seen. South Park's brash nature was so bombastic and different from anything else around the time, so why not give it a shot? At worst, it joins the graveyard of Comedy Central's other cancelled shows, and at best, it runs for a few seasons before people start to lose interest. Comedy Central ordered 6 episodes, with the first episode airing on August 13th, 1997. Now, this episode, titled Cartman Gets an Anal Probe, did not hit it off with test audiences, but it was still run anyways. And it was a successful premiere all things considered, receiving a Nielsen rating of 1.3, which is just about 1 million viewers, a pretty good number for the time. But that's fairly normal with new series. People willing to give it a chance before forgetting to watch it next week. And that, oh, I'll catch it next week turns into, hey, whatever happened to that show? By episode 3, South Park kept pace with the premiere. By episode 6, it creeped up to a 1.7. With internet activity being sparse and no social media to share the show with, South Park was living solely by word of mouth. Seeing this success, Comedy Central ordered 7 more episodes to be produced, the first 3 of which being holiday specials, which saw double the viewership following a 6-week break. Episode 7 saw a Nielsen rating of 4.8, and then 5.2, and then 6.4, back to back to back. Each week, millions of people were tuning into America's Hottest Show. The finale of the 7 additional episodes Comedy Central ordered received a Nielsen rating of 8.0. Over 6 million viewers sat down for half an hour on a Wednesday night to find out who Cartman's father was. This was completely different for Comedy Central, who, as a whole, averaged a 0.6 rating. The all-time high was a 2.7. South Park tripled that. South Park was changing how people viewed Comedy Central, how people viewed television. Back in New York, it took 3 years of petitioning to anyone who would listen, but Kanye West finally signed a deal as a recording artist at Rockefeller Records in August of 2002. But just 2 months later, his life would change in a flash. After another late night in the studio, Kanye fell asleep behind the wheel and crashed his rental car. He woke up in the hospital with his jaw wired shut. For a rapper, this is a huge setback in their career. For an aspiring rapper with no real discography and no real proof of work, this might as well have been a death sentence. It's a 1 in a million chance he'd ever get a shot. But for Kanye, the Swahili word for only one, it was the key to his future. A mere 2 weeks later, he got in the booth, jaw wired shut and all, and recorded a song for his mixtape, Get Well Soon, one he titled Through the Wire. The initial success was enough to convince Rockefeller Records to give him an album, and Through the Wire became the first single on the College Dropout. The video to accompany the single is quite simple, a collage of Polaroids from the crash and his recovery process. This came directly from Kanye's mind, and was made basically overnight. Co-director Cootie Simmons said that if we would have wrote a treatment for the video, they would have shot that down. They had to see it to understand. Otherwise they would have said, no, Kanye should be rapping at a party with lots of girls poolside. Like basically every other rap video from the time. While continuing to recover from the accident, he wrote the rest of the album, which unfortunately ended up being leaked months ahead of time. But for someone who quite literally almost just died, that's another opportunity. He postponed the release to remix and remaster it, adding verses, improving the beats, and adding choirs. Adding things foreign to the rap game. His lyrics on sexuality, religion, consumerism, prejudice, and personal struggles transcended anything else in hip-hop. One of Kanye's biggest themes was make your own decisions. Don't let society tell you this is what you have to do. Through the Wire never hit #1 on the Billboard, because his second single did that. The album itself hit #2 on the charts, right behind Norah Jones's Feels Like Home. All roads lead to Jones. He was nominated for 10 Grammys that year. He won Best Rap Song, and also Best Rap Album. And the album went platinum, 4 times over. The College Dropout was a huge success, and so too was the aesthetic that every record label shot down before. Kanye West was changing how people viewed rap, how people viewed art. After an incredibly successful first season, Trey Parker and Matt Stone signed a deal with Comedy Central for 2 more seasons. But more importantly, a feature-length film with Paramount. After episodes with topics ranging from sexuality, religion, consumerism, prejudice, and personal struggles, it was finally time to take South Park to the big screen. But turning a normal episode into a full film wouldn't suffice for Parker and Stone. They wanted to make something that they could be proud of. They knew it had to be bigger, longer, and uncut? This title came about after the MPAA denied their initial title of South Park All Hell Breaks Loose. So Parker and Stone, being the ingenious jokesters they are, snuck in an innuendo of uncircumcised dicks instead. Even Parker himself would note that they just didn't get it. This period was the busiest in South Park's young lifespan, as not only did they have to create 2 more seasons of episodes, but also balance making the film. This stretched their team extremely thin, which led to the show declining in quality come the second season. Both Parker and Stone have gone on record to say seasons 2 and 3 are embarrassing to go back and watch for them, and while I actually enjoy the first 3 seasons very much, I definitely relate to how hard they are on themselves. Due to the workload from both projects simultaneously in production, Parker and Stone don't even remember doing some of these episodes, attributing delusionary writing to the exhaustion they faced. And looking back at some of these season 3 plots, yeah, I can see that. This decline in quality did cause the show to lose a bit of interest in the fast-moving world of media. Combine that with Paramount's growing frustration with the pair, due to them giving equal time to the show and movie, Parker and Stone felt as if their time in the spotlight was running out. Let's just make this movie super fucked up, because we'll probably never make another movie again. We learned that's the attitude we always need to have. We can walk away from this at any moment. Let's just do it our way. And so they did. It was known early on that Parker and Stone had a love for Broadway, so naturally, they made this a musical. Despite plenty of nudging from the studio to dial it back to a PG-13 rating, the MPAA gave first editions of the film an NC-17 rating. If the film had 400 or more swear words in it, there was no way it could receive the R rating they needed. The final cut of the movie came in just under that magic 400 swears mark. By only one. 2 weeks until release, they kept changing things on the film. Adding plot points, improving beats, and adding choirs. Adding things foreign to Western animation. This was a big gamble for the pair. A big gamble for the studio, and a big gamble for the future of South Park. The film cost about $20 million to make, and it made the budget back. 4 times over. It was critically acclaimed. It won plenty of awards, even being nominated for an Oscar. If it wasn't clear already, these guys weren't traditional Hollywood sweethearts. They weren't from the same place or cut from the same cloth. They didn't wear fitted suits or luxury watches. They wore pink dresses and Gucci heels to that Oscar ceremony. They might not have won an award, but it was a magical night. They were tripping on acid the whole time. South Park had followed up their early stardom with 10 more seasons of the show, one of television's greatest runs of continued dominance. After College Dropout, Kanye went on to release a bigger and longer project, Late Registration, and followed up his second album by making one of the most influential pieces of music of the century, Graduation. And then he did it again with 808s and Heartbreak, one of the greatest 4-album runs of all time. But none of it connects. Not really, at least. Each party saw over a decade of growth and success, becoming household names across the globe. Money, fame, power. On one fateful Wednesday night in 2009, the world would change forever. And so, I ask you again, do you like Fishsticks? The 5th episode of South Park's 13th season, titled Fishsticks, aired on April 8th, 2009, and sees Eric Cartman enter Jimmy Valmer's house one afternoon, joining him in writing some jokes for his newest stand-up routine. Cartman shuts down every single joke that Jimmy's got, obnoxiously munching on potato chips while doing so. Jimmy's lovely mother Sarah brings them a plate of fruit, but Eric knows such garbage isn't substantial nourishment for him. Growing frustrated, Jimmy tells him that he might be able to find some fish sticks in the freezer. If he likes fish sticks, that is. It dawns on Jimmy. He frantically scribbles out the setup and punchline, and he tests it out.
Say, Eric, do you like fish sticks? Yeah? You like putting fish sticks in your mouth? Yeah? Well, what are you, Eric? A gay fish? Fish sticks! Oh, dude, that's funny as shit!
The next day at school, the boys take victim after victim. It spreads to the staff. And then the parents. And then once the joke has kinda run its course, the late night talk show guys nab it and pretend to be funny for the target audience. Your 30-year-old aunt who still uses Facebook. It's basically the equivalent of that one kid who said your joke louder and got everyone else to laugh. And usually, that's the death sentence for a joke. But not this time. It's spread around the world like a plague. It's the perfect joke. It's some good harmless fun. Everyone gets it. Everyone except Kanye West. No matter how much it's explained to him, how delicately he's walked through the joke, he just doesn't get it. He brings in a doctor to help him explain how he's not a gay fish.
Doctor, do I have gills? He does not have gills.
But they're still laughing at him. Even at his shows, thousands of people with costumes and signs taunt him. He just doesn't get it. It doesn't make sense. It has to make sense for it to be funny. Right? Bill Hader, a frequent writer of the series, recalls just how this came to be in an interview with The New Yorker.
But the first episode I worked on with them was this one with Kanye West called Fishsticks. They have these retreats, South Park retreats, and you get to stay in a nice hotel, and then you wake up in the morning and you go to like a suite and you just talk about South Park ideas. And then Trey's like a weird dad where he's like, we're gonna go to a salmon ladder. And that's where we came up with Fishsticks because we were watching this salmon like go up a thing, and then Matt was like, what if one of them was just like on an Evel Knievel bike, like, yeah! And then of course I was like, what if you had a big dick? And someone was like, fish stick? And he was like, no, fish dick. And I was like, fish stick or fish dick? What are you saying? He's like, who could be someone who doesn't have a sense of humor that we can make fun of? Who's the one person in the world who won't have a sense of humor? And then unison, we were like, Kanye West!
And this story is corroborated by the season 13 commentary track by Parker and Stone.
It happened because we were doing a writer's retreat in Seattle, and I had taken everyone to see where the salmon jump. And we were sitting there watching the salmon jump, and for some reason decided that Kanye West was a salmon.
I know exactly what happened. Somehow we got joking about a little salmon with an Evil Knievel costume on.
Yeah,
and like, oh, then he's Evil Knievel, and he'd be like, oh, the best salmon they're joining. And then we started talking about that Kanye West video where he pretended to be Evil Knievel jumping over Snake River. And then we were joking about that, and then it was like Fishsticks somehow came out. That was like Kanye West is a fish, and Fishsticks.
He's a gay fish, and he likes
somehow
Fishsticks.
Fishsticks. When we first came up with it, it was absolutely absurdist, had nothing to do with Kanye West at all.
It wasn't
but
like,
then,
let's rip on Kanye West.
It wasn't like, yeah, it was just stupid. It was just because the Evil Knievel costume was kind of remind us. But then, the more we started joking about it, it was like, well, Kanye West would be the most humorless person in the world about this and wouldn't get the joke. So then it started sticking. And then,
that music video they allude to is the one for a single from Late Registration, Touch the Sky, which really is such a fun time capsule of where he was as an artist.
This is why we couldn't never work out, Nia.
Do you know who I am?
I know, I said your name. I know who you are.
On stage, at least. You see, Kanye had developed somewhat of an ego problem. He knew he was one of the best in the game, but every so often he would push the wrong buttons. That video for Touch the Sky was nominated for Best Music Video at the MTV Europe Awards. But when it lost out to We Are Your Friends by Justice, Kanye stormed the stage and proclaimed to the world how he should have won, immediately making an ass of himself on the world stage. But he did know his actions were detrimental to his image. In 2005, he told Time that, as he and his career matured, he would likely have to tone down his public behavior, as he'd have a lot more to lose. The MTV Europe Awards incident was in 2006. Kanye can't quite place how he is a gay fish. The math doesn't add up, and that's why it's perfect. The joke isn't about Kanye, but in Kanye's mind, it was. His ego has convinced him that it is, and he can't see otherwise. He wouldn't listen to the ones closest to him, trying to talk some sense into him. He was determined to figure out why people thought he was a gay fish, and he was going to find out who was making fun of him. See, we know that Jimmy wrote the joke, but the rest of the world doesn't. Cartman goes around telling everyone that both Jimmy and he created it, which makes Hater's interview all the more interesting in comparison to the creator's commentary track.
Cartman in this episode is like a few people we've worked with over our career, in that they sit around with you while you're working and then take credit for what you did.
And truly believe they had something to do with it.
Believe that they did it, and that's the really sinister part. Is it isn't like oh they're trying to steal part of the glory, like this was our work and they didn't do anything. It's like they actually fully believe that they came up with it, and that's Cartman in this episode. He didn't do anything but sit on the couch and eat chips.
Comedian Carlos Mencia, long rumored to be stealing jokes from other comedians, became the face of the joke sweeping the world. And it's always the ones who say it loudest that get credit. Kanye's entourage finds Mencia, and presents him to Kanye to interrogate Carlito's Way style. And just like Laline, Kanye lets him go free because, well, let's just hope that no one else comes forward to try and take credit for the joke. Uh-oh. Kanye's got a sight set on his new targets. So he and his crew head over to South Park, Colorado and the Vollmer residence, interrupting a spat between Jimmy and Cartman.
Dude, it's Puff Daddy!
Man, 2025 does not look that kindly here. Tying them up just as they did with Mencia. Throughout the episode, Cartman has been recounting the events that led up to the creation of the joke, each time changing things, adding plot points, changing story beats, adding dragons and Jew robots. He can't quite place how he didn't create this joke. The math doesn't add up. He wouldn't listen to the ones closest to him, trying to talk some sense into him, and that's why it's perfect. The joke isn't Cartman's, but in Cartman's mind, it was. His ego has convinced him that it is, and he can't see otherwise. Eric Cartman is Kanye West. In 1999's Going Down to South Park, we get plenty of behind-the-scenes lore on the series, but there is an interesting quote from Trey Parker regarding Cartman around the 32-minute mark.
Technically, I'm supposed to be Stan and Matt's supposed to be Kyle. That's sort of where it all started, was like Stan was the little me and Kyle was the little Matt. But as the further we go along, we realize we're really both more Cartman.
Yeah, just big fat bastards.
Yeah.
It's obviously heavily satirized. I mean, they're being interviewed in a hot tub. But the point remains. Their experiences shape the way they write their characters. I said before that none of Kanye's backstory connects with Parker and Stone. But they do. It seems our two stories were destined to become one. As if three stars aligned in the most improbable way, forming a beautiful constellation, culminating in the greatest joke of all time. By the end of the episode, Kanye accepts that he truly is a gay fish. And he begins his new life in the ocean. As Gayfish, Trey Parker's very own parody of Heartless plays, and he lives happily ever after. Unless you watch the alternate ending where he dies. Whoops. Now, given Kanye's relatively fragile ego, one could expect him to completely lose it. But to everyone's surprise, he was pretty chill about it. He posted this to his blog the following day. South Park murdered me last night and it's pretty funny. It hurts my feelings, but what can you expect from South Park? I actually have been working on my ego though. Having the crazy ego has played out at this point in my life and career. I used to use it to build up my self-esteem when nobody believed in me. Now that people do believe and support my music and products, the best response is thank you, instead of I told you so. It's cool to talk shit when you're rapping, but not in real life. When you meet Lil Wayne in person, he's the nicest guy, for example. I just want to be a doper person, which starts with me not always telling people how dope I think I am. I need to just get past myself, drop the bravado, and just make dope product. Everything is not that serious. As long as people think I act like a bitch, this type of shit will happen to me. I got a long road ahead of me to make people believe I'm not actually a huge douche, but I'm up for the challenge. I'm sure the writers at South Park are really nice people in real life. Thanks for taking the time to draw my crew. That was pretty funny also. I'm sure there's grammatical errors in this. That's how you know it's me. So, South Park actually caused him to take a good look at himself and make a change for the better, to curtail his ego problem and stop making a fool of himself. And ever since April of 2009, he didn't do anything else to ruin his image. Until he hopped back up on stage to interrupt Taylor Swift, receiving her MTV Video Award for Best Video, claiming that Beyoncé's was the best of all time. That was in September of 2009. He made it 5 months. But I think he really did struggle with the shift in image since his breakthrough into the limelight. His cover of Time magazine in 2005 calls him hip-hop's class act, and now he was anything but. This frustration is seen in his 5th album, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, which is widely regarded as his magnum opus. On here, he delves into his id, his impulsive tendencies that have turned self-destructive. He's killing his career for sex, drugs, and notoriety, chasing a high he can't attain. But I think the song that's the best representative of the album, and therefore Kanye's mental state, is Gorgeous. Gorgeous is my favorite Kanye West song. This fusion of classic blues, rock, and hip-hop, combined with some of his finest lyrical work, makes for a profound listening experience. But there's always been one lyric that sticks out the most.
Choke a South Park writer with a fish stick.
Huh. That's weird. I thought he was okay with the whole thing. Well, I suppose if they took a jab at him, he's warranted a playful retaliation. The next year, he'd collaborate with Jay-Z on Watch the Throne.
South Park had them all laughing.
Oh.
And I'm the one who you eat fish sticks because I had skinny jeans on. South Park had jokes about fish sticks. To this day, the whole team could kiss this stick.
Okay, so for those keeping track, he lied. He was, in fact, not chill with the episode. But one thing was for sure. South Park was right. He really didn't get it. It's not as if this was a totally one-sided beef, though. As South Park would return back to the Westwell in Season 17's finale, The Hobbit, aiming their commentary more at the culture surrounding his fiancée at the time, Kim Kardashian. And while this episode is a pretty good commentary on Instagram versus real life, again, it's not really about Kanye West. He's just pulled in by association, which makes for the perfect callback to play on his self-consciousness surrounding his public image. But that was the last time he was shown in South Park, in 2013. Life of the Party was in 2021. Now, at E3 2016, Kanye released a teaser for a game to pay tribute to his late mother Donda. The next year, South Park happened to release their second video game, The Fractured But Whole, where your character has to help Seaman.
That Seaman!
Oh, sorry. Help a gay fish out. And it's really funny that he's just a gay fish now. Like the third evolution of a Pokemon. But that would be the last time South Park would reference anything to do with Kanye West. Until 2023. You see, in the last couple of years, Kanye West has had an interesting turn in his career. In that, he's fully lost it. Kanye revealed to the world in 2016 he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which is even seen on his 2018 album Ye. He's also come out and said he's been diagnosed as autistic and also stopped taking his medication for bipolar disorder, but that's been more recent. He'd attached himself to President Donald Trump, even announcing that he was running for president, sending him down the right-wing grift pipeline. And, as the old saying goes, all roads lead to Jones. He appeared on InfoWars, hosted by Alex Jones, which is basically just an outlandish right-wing conspiratory podcast. No, it's not a Barstool production. On the show, West appears covered head to toe, and is given the opportunity to walk back some anti-Semitic claims he's been spouting. Alex Jones lobs him up the greatest alley-oop pass the world has ever seen.
You're not Hitler, you're not a Nazi, you don't deserve to be called that and demonized.
Well,
Nah, you're done. If someone sets you up like that to prove you're not a Nazi, and the first word out of your mouth is, well, cut it. Cut the cameras. If you stunlock Alex Jones with what you say, that says it all. This appearance made headlines immediately. So, of course South Park got in on it. In the premiere of South Park's 26th season, Cupid Ye, Cartman gets a bit jealous that Kyle, his Jewish friend, using friend very loosely here, is spending more time with Tolkien. Cartman's had a little buddy called Cupid Me for a while now, which he gives into and feeds, even at the detriment to himself. Cupid Me leads Cartman to go on a familiar-looking set, in a familiar-looking outfit, spouting nonsensical slander about his buddy Kyle and the Jewish population. Cupid Me's alter ego, Cupid Ye, sets up base camp in the boys' bathroom at school, and has his arrow crafting interrupted by Craig and Kenny. These aren't just any arrows though. These are poison arrows. They're toxic. They're anti-Semitism arrows. Cupid Ye soon infects the whole school with anti-Semitism, showing how fast something like this can spread. Cartman attacks Cupid Ye, or Cupid Me, with his medication, suppressing the hateful arc and reverting back to the normal Cupid Me. As normal as Cupid Me can be, I suppose. But there is no Cupid Me. When Tolkien is asleep one night, Cupid Me sneaks into his room and starts filling his subconscious with nasty propaganda, before Tolkien's father Steve walks in. This bizarre cryptid, dressed all in black, hops out the window. It's clear that there is no Cupid Me, only Cartman. This is his id. Kanye West is Eric Cartman. This is one of my favorite recent episodes from South Park. It's a poignant commentary on how baseless claims can spread without any truth behind them. How something said in jest can morph into harmful, hateful rhetoric. Something that starts as a joke, much like the Fishsticks joke. Except, the joke isn't funny anymore. Cupid Ye's bow and arrow is the perfect metaphor. How ideas can be weaponized. How media cycles handle these claims, even if to refute them. How it continues to spread. And how this hatred will eventually stick. The damage it causes. The scars left behind. This is a far cry from Fishsticks. It was good fun to poke at Kanye's ego and make him the butt of the joke. But that same satire couldn't work with this latest era of Kanye West. To even satirize it risks it being picked up by the wrong people, who continue to run with it in their echo chamber, eventually infecting more and more people. I brought up Kanye's diagnosis of bipolar disorder and autism, which were highlighted in the media following his anti-Semitic shift, with growing concern for his and those close to him's well-being during these manic episodes. Filtering the commentary through Cartman's mental health struggles is a much better way to handle something like this, as opposed to flaunting a caricature of Kanye around for parody. We're beyond parody. Kanye's already become a parody of himself. Autism doesn't make you predisposed to harbor hatred in your heart. The only thing it makes you predisposed to is loving Sonic. It's sad to see the decline of Kanye West, someone that a lot of people, myself included, would have considered one of the greatest artists of all time. You can try and separate the art from the artist all you want, but that defeats the allure of art. It's a reflection of the artist. Their life, their goals, their dreams, their hardships, everything that has shaped them into the artists they are and were at the time. It's great to reminisce on the good old days. Kanye's antics are indefensible. With every new Twitter meltdown, more and more people run out of, but he made graduation. With each new troubling story to try and explain what caused the shift in him, to each new publicity stunt. All we're left with is the memory of what once was. Someone that looks like is never coming back. More than anything, I hope Kanye can find the help he needs, even if he isn't actively seeking it. Not to justify listening to his music or wearing his merch, but to save someone trapped in the riptide, sweeping them out to sea. This was never supposed to be this long of a video. This was never supposed to get serious. This was just supposed to be the follow-up to last year's April Fool's video. But the more I researched, the more I watched, the more I wrote, the more it became. It might be a complete 180 from the normal stuff you watch on the channel, but this helped me. Helped me grow, helped me learn, helped me reignite a dwindling fire. It's been my favorite thing to work on so far, and there's plenty more to come. Who knows how many people will see this video? It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. If you are here, thank you, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you to my patrons and my channel members. Thank you to everyone who comments on each and every video. I never ask of anything from y'all. No likes or donations or anything like that. But I do ask one thing of you from this video. Do you like fish sticks? Happy April, you fools.